I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the chair of the Coney County Conservation Bank Board. We have a quorum here with 4 of the members: Ryan Keys, our secretary, Emily Hitchcock, our vice chair, and Laura Havren, our treasurer. Marvin Prater is not in attendance. He's out of state. And then we have 2 vacancies on the board. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Take a minute to refresh your memory on those. I did have one correction on the second page, about halfway, right above the new agenda requirement. The paragraph above that, it says, attend the Agriculture Advisory Board meeting or Advisory Board on Tuesday, September 14th. That should be Monday, September 14th. And if we're ready, we'll certainly entertain a motion for approval of the minutes whenever anybody's ready.
Approve the minutes with the one correction.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approved unanimously. Next on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Laura?
Okay, the treasurer's report for the Community First Bank, account ending in 183, for the period ending August 31st, 2020. The opening balance was $16,755 and no cents. There were 0 deposits, 0 expenditures, so that the balance in the account ending was $16,755 and no cents. The treasurer's report for the local government investment pool, period ending August 31st, 2020. The opening balance was $409,949.65. 0 expenditures. There was reinvestment of interest of $119.33 for an ending balance of $410,068.98.
Thank you, Laura. We have a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
I make the motion.
Well, I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I just wanted to say too that we had talked last meeting about our requirement for how much money we keep in our Community First account. Emily researched that, and we had established a policy where we keep $15,000 in that account. And that was important to me because we have the Elaine Morris Award is $12,500, and I was thinking we could just pull it right out of the Community First. And so I needed to know if I could do that, and I can't. We'll order that from the state pool. So that was good information that
However,
Emily got to us. Yes, ma'am.
when we look at policy 002, we can discuss whether or not that will continue to apply.
Very good point. Very good point.
Why can't you use it? Is it just a minimum balance requirement?
No, it's not a minimum balance requirement. It's a requirement that we made, just to kind of be safe, I guess. But Emily's right, with our new policy that she developed and that'll be back on the table today, we don't have to maintain that $15,000. But we'll discuss that a little later, yeah. We had just done that as a kind of a fail-safe, you know, to have funds available if needed. Okay, next on the agenda are our discussion items. And the first one is that policy that Emily, after our discussion last week, rewrote, and it's been sent in our backup materials. And Emily, would you go ahead?
Sure. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at the revised policy. I was just, I don't have a red line copy for you, so I hope you've all looked at it to make sure it expresses what we wanted. I believe it does, and the one thing to follow up on our last discussion that I would point out is that if you look under the policy, oops, and there's a typo, but I'll correct that. It's just where it says policy underlined at the end of the page one, there's an apostrophe before the capital P. So I will just correct that before I send it to the final version to Katie. But if you look on the second page, it says, if you read two items together, number 3 says, the board shall manage the funds in the Community First account on behalf of the bank. And then number 5 says, the board may invest all or part of the bank funds in the state pool, considering the need, if any, to maintain funds in the Community First bank account. And the reason we had this discussion at the last meeting and we wrote it that way, because at some point, there is at least the potential that we'll decide we're not going to maintain the Community First Bank at all. And so it's my position that if we adopt this policy, that number 5 supersedes or overrules the prior vote of the board that we had to have a minimum of 15,000. And I believe that, Andy, you had said that Community First said we had to have 1,000 to avoid having charges.
You know, I don't remember exactly, it was either 1,000 or 1,500, but we're
Okay.
well above that.
So obviously, we would not want to have any charges, but I just wanted to point that out because I do think that it changes that policy and would give the chair and treasurer the discretion to decide at any given time how much was in Community First.
Wouldn't we need to have a local bank that we would be getting our checks from though? Like if we went without Community First and just did the state pool, how would we get the checks we need? I mean, would we wire transfer to a local bank and then get them to issue us a check? How would we get our money?
It would, well, if all we're doing, and I think we probably do, and.
I mean, does the state pool, is it actually at a bank in Columbia that could issue us a check? I mean,
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to
You know
that.
what I mean?
But don't we usually wire the
We
funds
wire it to
to the
Community
closing?
First. No,
Yeah.
we wire them to Community First, and then from there to
And then we wire them most of the time.
potentially, I mean, if we ever did that, and I kind of agree, we probably always want to have a local account, but
Kinda
Gives
think we
us the
need to.
flexibility.
That's
to
right.
get
Yeah.
one.
I think we do.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
But
I don't think there's any question, but at least theoretically, we could wire, if all we are doing is grants and we have no other expenditures where we might need.
Yeah.
Theoretically, in a year or two, we could decide, or the board, who's ever on it, could decide, we can wire directly from the state pool to the closing attorney.
Right.
Because right now, if we wire to Community First and then we wire from Community First to the closing attorney, we have 2 fees. But that's not a decision that's being made now. I'm just pointing out that this policy changes the last one and gives the treasurer and the chair the discretion as to how much to maintain in Community First. And then down the road, if a change is needed, okay, if not, that's okay. But I think we all think we need a local
Right.
bank right now.
okay. That's,
So do, so do you need a motion to adopt?
yeah, let's do. Uh-huh.
Okay, so I move that we adopt policy number 0002 titled Bank Account.
I second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimously passed. Thank you, Emily. Next on there is Duke Energy Report. So I have put there, and just, if you would, just take a minute to skim that. Just finished this draft yesterday, so that's why I didn't get to us before. We don't have a requirement technically to do ongoing reports by the memorandum of agreement. But I think it's a wise idea. I think they thought that we would use all the money really quickly and a report was due essentially 2 years after the donation, which Shay did. We waited 2 years for a report, and so this is the follow-up report to them.
They didn't know who they were dealing with. We could have this money 50 years from now.
So we've earned almost $12,000 in interest in, what, the last year that it's been in?
Yeah, we put it in there May of 19, so
So
yeah.
in a little over a year, okay?
I cry every time I think about that because I think of all the money we could have made.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And it's not even a huge return. We could have.
Oh, yeah, I think our present interest rate return is 0.5%.
Yeah, so,
We started out at 2.
uh-huh, yeah.
That's really affecting that's why the number's so low. It's not that the principal has gone down so much, it's
Yeah,
the interest rate.
Is that just market dictated?
Yeah.
okay, one of the things that I had mentioned to Andy, and I will get back to him, so I will do this research, is that Oconee Forever has also made donations to the OCCB. It, I believe, made 2, and if I'm remembering correctly, probably in about 2010, 2011,
Okay.
2012. Anyway, it's been a few years, so I will get that information to Andy.
So is this an accumulative report?
No, it's a
Just the
follow-up.
year.
It starts September 11th, 2018 to the present.
Okay,
So Shay's earlier report reported on the 2 earlier grants they'd made
Okay.
and creating the procedures, statement of interest form, application form, criteria worksheets, that sort of thing.
so you don't need the report from Oconee Forever. Perhaps it could say,
Well, I would like to have it just because I am trying to give them a little bit of a cumulative
Okay.
report on the money.
okay,
That'd be good. So I would say that in there, if it's gonna be accumulative.
Okay,
I would specify that it's not just in the past 2 years.
okay.
And the other thing, okay, so it does say, I guess in the first paragraph, or that it was 2 years ago that we did a
Yes.
report. Okay.
and I'm thinking, if you're doing cumulative on all of the contributions, I believe Alice had also made,
Alice? You mean Fran?
no, from Oconee Forever, one of the members, I don't think she's a current member, and I would have to check that. I will just make a note to check, to just email her and ask her.
That's
And
good.
I've just blanked on her last name. You know, I haven't seen her in a couple of years, and,
Yeah, please do that, because that's what I think is important, in my opinion, to do. One of the things is how we're bringing in other monies, even though it's a little teeny bit. I think I want them to know that.
actually, I'll go through the minutes again. Let me just go through the minutes, because I'm thinking that when I was going through all of the minutes to look for items that might need to be reduced to policy so that we knew what had previously been voted, that there were a couple of different donations mentioned in the minutes that I actually did not know about. And that's the reason. So I'll go through our minutes, because anytime there was a donation, I believe it's reflected as part of the treasurer's report.
Yep, okay,
So I'll just do that.
all right.
So
Yes, ma'am?
when you send this report to Duke, does it go to the county board and then they make it, or do we make it?
No, it's directly from us. It
So-
doesn't go to them.
So, one of my recommendations is that you attach the one from 2 years ago.
Okay,
to the back of this.
I like that.
So that when they get this, they don't have to go searching for what happened
like
2
that.
years ago. They can see the difference in the progress.
Okay. Got it.
Good
I like
idea.
that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
You hear that? Brilliant.
Thank you.
I knew we hired you for a reason.
Okay.
And so there's not a timeline on this report. The last one was 2011, 2018. I thought there was symmetry in doing it, 2 years later, same month. But if we can do however we want to, we can either approve it now with these changes, and then I submit it, or I can bring it back in October, or November. So those are the things to consider in considering making a motion.
Is when to do it. Now, do you send it to them or do you present it in person?
Send it to them.
Do you have a specific person you
I
send
do,
it to?
yeah.
Would it, and just throwing this out there, you know how we worked on that PowerPoint? Would it behoove us to attach, I don't know, a thumb drive or of that PowerPoint and
Put that in the mail to them.
put that in the mail along with this and say, here's what we're working on?
I like that because,
That means I gotta work on it, but I've been waiting for this report, so that would hold us up on sending it in right away. Because I've gotta add this information to it.
just fine. I think that's good because I like them, I like thinking that they're thinking about us and seeing what we're doing and getting a visual like that. I think it's a good idea. Shows them more, it makes it more tangible.
Who does it actually go to?
Ma'am?
Who does it go to?
When I was researching us wanting to invest our money, I found out who the person was at Duke. I don't have his name right now, so that's the person that's
Person
gonna
that
go
goes
to. yeah.
Okay.
And the prior report, I don't know, Katie, if you did it or Shay, there was a Coney County Conservation Bank letterhead that listed all the members. Have you got that? So it'll go on a letterhead,
Okay.
our
Is it
letterhead.
the same person that it went to before?
I think it would be, if you'll give me their name, I'll confirm that.
Are they still there?
I can send you the report from the last time,
Okay.
the last report that was sent, since you
Okay.
guys let us attach it.
Yeah, I've got the report, but not like the cover letter to who it went to. Yeah, that'd be great.
And do we know that person's still there in that position?
We don't, because I talked to that person in, would have been spring of last year. But we'll track down the right person to send it to. But I think that's another brilliant idea. That's two. You're only limited to 2 brilliant ideas.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, now, just in the first paragraph, a typo, the last sentence says, "The present report is a follows
Yeah, I've
up."
already struck that S.
Okay, so I'm still reading.
Okay.
If I see any after that are just typos, I mean, I think the report looks good,
Okay.
but if I happen to see a typo, I'll just shoot you an email.
Okay.
Because I know sometimes you catch them the second or third time you read through something.
Any other thoughts?
Joe, if we hold off, our next meeting's November.
That's correct.
If we hold off, some of these actually might be closed, because we're anticipating closing in October,
That's a good point.
and we can say they're closed.
So are you
Roll.
thinking wait until November to approve sending this report?
I think it might be a good idea.
Yeah,
That's
because
fine.
we need to work on the, if
Yep.
we're gonna do that PowerPoint.
There's no need to rush it.
Yeah. Very good.
Why do today what we can put off until November?
Because we have nothing else to do.
Is that right?
No.
Okay, so any more ideas on this? That's good. So we don't need a motion or anything like that. Y'all ready to move on? Okay, so last night I attended the Agricultural Advisory Board meeting, and I stayed for the whole meeting. It was fairly short. The Oconee County Conservation Bank was the primary item on the agenda, and they basically, you know, in my mind, it was a little unclear exactly what they wanted, so that's, of course, what I asked them, and they just said, tell us what you do and tell us how we do it. So I gave them, you know, a history of us and a summary of what we do, conservation easements, fee simple purchases, the granting for that, the whole spiel. We had a little bit of a discussion afterwards, and the main thing that they said they would do from that is they would put us in their farm resource contacts guide. So they're an education entity, basically, of trying to bring information to farmers of how to improve what they're doing, attract young farmers in, and so they're looking at all sorts of resources they can provide to people in agriculture to help them do what they do. They didn't have any specific ideas in terms of a collaborative effort with us. They just wanted to be educated on what we do so they can think about opportunities that might come up to them. Bubba Land's on it, Amanda Callahan is on it, Rex Blanton, a couple other folks. But that was basically it, and I'll pass this around so you can see it. So they're gonna add us in there, and they also wanted to add Upstate Forever, Natureland Trust, Soil and Water Conservation District, because that was one of their questions was, how do farmers, you know, how do people find you? What kind of PR do we have? And I said, you know, we don't have much, but I told them that in my professional opinion, the people who are looking for the money, like Upstate Forever, Natureland Trust, they know how to find it. They're gonna talk among themselves. Adi Martin, of course, was actually involved in creating the Oconee County Conservation Bank. Those folks will find us. The question to me is more, how do farmers know about you? And we kind of agreed in the discussion that that's probably through word of mouth or reading or, you know, that sort of thing. But it does kind of beg that question of how do we get our information out there?
So, how to get the information out there? We had talked, I think, last time about doing an article, submitting it to the Seneca Journal. And I was trying to remember where that discussion went. Once these close and money is transferred, checks are presented, if we can get a photo op, get something, you know, publicity-wise out there.
I think that's a great idea, and maybe we could, one way we could look at that is you know, once our current set of grants have closed, maybe the grants for 2021 or just for this period, we could have an article about that, you know, I mean, that would be something to talk about.
Right.
is
The money
something.
actually doesn't go as a check. It goes, look, didn't you say it goes to like whoever the lawyers are that are
Yeah.
handling the transaction? So it's not like a big formal affair.
That's
It's
correct,
just money transferred, but
yeah.
I don't know if there's any way to do a photo op and.
I think our discussion last time was left with, we needed to find out what the county
Right.
guidance, procedures,
Yeah.
whatever the term would be,
Yes.
is regarding press releases. But I don't think we assigned anyone to follow up on that, just sitting here. Because I don't think any of us, and we were the four here, remember being assigned that.
No, we
And it
didn't.
wasn't
I
in the
think we
minutes, so
discussed
I don't
it.
think we
And
voted.
we talked about, I think we did
Yeah.
talk about needing to find out, can we do our own press release?
Yeah, and if.
Do you know,
and-
Katie, on something like that? Press releases that go out about, from the boards? Who can do a press release?
I mean, no, not off the top of my head.
So there's not like a communications director of Oconee County that handles that sort of thing, or would yay or
Remember
nay
the
it?
last time I told you Brittany Martin,
Yeah.
remember, she's the executive assistant to the county administrator. She's out right now. I don't mind asking and finding out who it is.
Okay.
I I don't know.
Okay.
I do know they have press releases and things like that, but I don't know.
Who does them?
As far as who does it, I'm just not sure, and I don't wanna say a name without
Right.
it being correct.
Okay.
I don't mind checking, I will make a note of that, and I'll check.
Laura, can I make a motion that when Katie gets back with you with a name, that you will follow up
Yeah.
to determine,
Can we do it? Do we
yeah,
have to get their approval? Do they have
Yeah.
to write it? Do we have to have?
yeah, that you will just do a follow-up and
Okay.
report as
Okay.
to
I'll do
how we would issue press releases.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll make that motion, that Laura will be, follow up after Katie gets her a name.
I second that. So in discussion, would you also be interested in writing that article?
yeah, I do that type of thing all the time.
Good. Do you really?
I do.
Excellent.
I do probably 2-3 press releases a month, so.
Do you? For who?
For our Scuttlebutt and occasionally for the Seneca Journal.
For
I
who?
know.
Who's the first name you gave?
Our Scuttlebutt.
The Kiwi Key
Yeah, the Scuttlebutt.
Journal.
Can you, say your motion one more time, just to
Okay.
make sure that I got it, that it's clear, if you don't
I
mind?
move that Laura follow up with the county person that Katie identifies regarding procedures for OCCB issuance of press releases.
Thank you.
And I seconded it. Okay,
But
do we want to amend to add Laura to write the article itself? Or does it matter at this point?
I don't know if it matters.
Well, yeah,
I'll do it.
yeah, I don't think it,
Okay, all in favor of Emily's motion? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous approval. Last on the agenda is discussion from OCCB Procedures Committee. Yeah, with COVID, we've had challenges in meeting together. So Laura and I met by phone, it was last Friday, I believe. And spent about an hour plus working on it. It's a pretty, I mean, that's one of the first things that we recognize and acknowledge, that it's a pretty extensive task. I mean, we're looking at the statement of interest form, the application form, the criteria worksheets, the valuation form. And there are a couple of sub things on there as well. And so we kind of looked at that overview and then dove into the statement of interest, looking at it from the agenda that Emily had created of all aspects of it, like keeping it or abandoning it, revising it, reintegrating it. And we spent that time really picking apart and looking how the ordinance affects it, and looking at how the statement of interest works with what we do and what we require applicants to do, and how it works with the application form. All that to say, we didn't make any specific decisions.
But we did go from keeping it to abandoning the statement of interest to integrating it into the application, because so much of it is redundant. And
Yeah.
it's like, I think our whole thing was simplify, make it easier.
Yeah, and Emily and I were gonna meet yesterday, but she had an issue with family health that prevented that, and that's fine. This is kind of a long-term project. It's gonna be somewhat tedious and in-depth, but just generally in our logistics, our ordinance doesn't require a statement of interest. That's something that the prior board created, that procedure. In our practical application of that, we've had applicants come to us and say, I've got to get an application in now because to time it with other potential grants. And do I have to send in a statement of interest, which would delay them at least a meeting? And we've taken the position of, the statement of interest is really for your convenience, not ours, to let you decide whether you want to do a whole application or not. If you want to send your application in, that's what we make our decision on. That's what you can go ahead and do. And so we were looking at it really from the point of view of it being an optional thing. kind of refining it so that the statement of interest is actually part of the application. If you want to just pull it out, do it first, you can. And then if you send the application in, they get smashed together as the full application. Or you can just do the application and send it in. But anyhow, that's our report from that. We'll continue working on that. In a related matter, we've presented our proposed amendments to the ordinance. They had their first reading, the County Council. At their last meeting, they had the second reading tonight. They have to wait 3 weeks for a public hearing. So the public hearing on it, if it goes smoothly tonight, and on the first meeting, it was just an up and down vote. They supported it. And that's what David Root, the county attorney, anticipates for tonight. So it will go to the public hearing on October 6th, which he suggested that somebody be in attendance at that meeting to answer questions. But if it's approved that day, it'll be law, and it'll be put in the ordinance book for Oconee County.
And what date was that?
October 6th.
October 6th?
And so I do think we need a motion on somebody, and I'm happy to, or Emily, you were on the committee that worked on that, attending that meeting to answer questions, or, whatever comes up at that meeting.
Well, I'll make a motion that you officially attend the meeting on behalf of the OCCB
Uh-huh.
and encourage the rest of us to get it on our calendar and try to be there just to show the importance of it.
But less than a quorum of us.
No, it's a public meeting. We can all
So we
go.
can okay.
That part's not part of my motion.
What
But we
time-
can just all go sit and listen, and we can be introduced, even as there are other members here, but,
I highly doubt I'll be able to attend with it being a school night.
Okay.
Yeah, our girls are playing sports. I mean, it might be impossible for me
Yeah.
to make it.
and I don't even know whether or not, was looking at my calendar. Right now, it looks like the 6th would be okay.
What
But
time do they meet?
It would be at the council.
6:30,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, I have that night open. I'll put that on.
School nights, I'm an essential worker. I got an excuse.
And you are.
Okay. So.
Okay, so the motion is that the chair officially represent the board at the county council meeting on October 6th regarding the proposed ordinance changes. Period. That's it. Then parenthetically, if others can attend.
That's not part of your motion. the
That's
parents.
not part of my motion.
Let's just do the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Second on that.
I second.
Any further discussion? Parentheses noted. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimously opposed?
Unanimously
I mean
adopted.
approved. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
A second.
All in favor?